Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and great start to the channel. 700 subscribers in the first day plus. I did get some advice. People said, can you keep the talking about your day to a minimum here? I think that's a good idea. I just will bring up things like, sorry for the washing machine, that's not on, but Luna just came in. It's Texas, it's summer, so she's panting. She's probably gonna go drink water a couple times during this video. Anyway. So, as I said yesterday, I don't want to actually go into the financial stuff that heavily at the beginning. The concept of this channel is that hopefully you watch all of the videos and in order, because I'm trying to replicate how I learned about investing. It was very, very difficult. I had a friend spend a year trying to teach me, but he wasn't very good. So finally, I had another friend and YouTube, and that's what made me understand investing. So now let's talk about rich people. Now, I think nobody, when I just said the word rich people, did not have a very strong reaction, whether it was just negative and hating them, or maybe jealousy, or maybe like confusion, like, oh, I can never be one of those people. You can't say the phrase rich people and not get an emotional reaction out of people. Now in media, at least in America, rich people is a little, usually they're evil. And if they're good, they're always kind of wringing their hands. They're always having like homeless people like pointing at them and jabbing them. It's like, hey, Mr. Bruce Wayne, what have you ever done for the people of Gotham? And he's just about, he's like, I saved you from the Joker gang like 4 times last year. I also paid for the community center that you piss against and the homeless center that you got kicked out of for pissing inside, not in the toilet. Like, I do a lot of stuff, trust me. But they always have like this like watery eye, and they're like, they just kind of nod. They're like, I do need to be better. But I've never met fictional rich people. I've only ever met actual rich people. And man alive, there are some commonalities. So the idea is that I want all of you to be rich. I feel like I'll have less enemies if I make more rich people. That's just a joke. I feel like that's a universal trait. There's very few people that hear like, oh, such and such got, $50 million to play baseball. You're like, screw that guy. Everyone's like, yeah. People win, the lottery. Yeah. Like, generally, people are excited to hear other people doing good. Plus, the idea is that you will become rich and you'll probably learn things that I don't know, and hopefully you'll tell me about it. So anyway, I didn't really know any rich people until I got into IT. When you're a kid, you think your friend's family is rich. It's like, when I was a kid, if you had multiple television sets and they were all color, you were rich. If you went to an out-of-state vacation every year, you were rich. So usually back in the day, it would be like, you'd have like, one year you'd go out of state, the next summer you just go on a little car trip. We had one color television in the family room, and then downstairs in a rec room we had a black and white television. The funny thing is that everyone thought we were like very, very like middle class, but like everyone I knew grew up had a 2-story house. Like a really large 2-story house with a giant yard. I grew up in the Midwest. Geez, the houses that I grew up in, I gotta look them up, what they're selling for. They gotta be selling for a lot. Little sidebar, real short. I actually went to a Facebook group of a military unit I was in, and like everything's the same. Like every single thing is the same. The basketball court is the same. Like everything, like nothing has changed. I was like, it's been like a lot of years. Like there's nothing new at all. It was very eerie. It was like remote viewing into your childhood. You know what I mean? Like, this is my hometown when I grew up, and it's all the same. No, there's always new stuff. Nope. Exactly. They will use those buildings till they fall down around them. And then they will have a working party to, dig away the rubble. Anyway, we're talking about being rich, not being enlisted. So growing up, rich was just like a kid's idea of what rich was. And then I was just broke for like 20 years. I didn't know any rich people. And then I got into IT. Now, when you're in IT, it's a weird position because I was like started as a sysadmin. Yeah, that's just like a basic generic, oh, I'm locked out of my computer, that kind of guy. So, you talk to everyone, including the people, the C-level executives, CEO, CIO, CTO, CFO, all those people. So all of a sudden I was dealing with actually rich people. And this is at multiple different places. And I noticed a commonality. Number one, they were the first people to work. They were the last people to leave. And then when they went home, they worked from home. They worked from vacation. They were sending you emails. They're like, hey, I'm on a transatlantic flight and I can't connect to the company server. I'm going through the portal correctly. Like, what's up? Like, they work a lot. They work weekends, they work holidays, they work a lot. But they also travel on vacation a lot. A lot. So, you talk about work-life balance. It's this weird thing where they work basically, I would say, 95% of the days of the year. But they're like always traveling. And rich people will make an excuse to travel for like freaking anything. That's almost kind of sidebar. I want to talk more about personality because this is a commonality that I have found in all the rich people and wealthy people, and there is a difference. We'll talk about that later. Is that they're very positive people. They're confident, but they're also every rich person I know in real life is trying not to be a rich person from TV and movies. Like they're very cognizant of that stereotype, so they're doing things to, not be that person. So they're very positive. They have a lot of energy. They can work long hours. I don't know any of them who are depressive and morose by nature. It tends to be happy, morning people type of people. They tend to... It's almost like this weird kind of draft. Like every rich person does time in California. Like there's something about California that just draws rich people from like all over the world. So even if you meet someone in New York City that they are wealthy, you will talk to them for 5 minutes and they spent 10 years in California. Why? I think there's a California, aspects of California always being very, it's very bright and beautiful and kind of like an exciting place. What I'm trying to say is there's California in the personality of all rich people, no matter where they grew up or where they are from. Like every rich person eventually ends up in California for some amount of time. So they're very positive. They're not depressive. They're not morose. They're very curious people. I talked about a friend who, intensely researched things. They're going to have a lot of aspects of broad knowledge. The idea about university, it's supposed to be this universal education where, you're focusing on finance, but you're also going to social studies and, history and all these different things. They're good at having a broad range of knowledge. I would actually say sometimes they'll very specifically know one thing, like if, they used to be an engineer or something like that in tech. But it's more of like a broad range of knowledge. Like, I don't want to say it's like people who go on Jeopardy because that's a lot of trivia. But what I'm trying to say is usually you talk to a regular person, they're a regular life, and they're into like one or two things very, very deeply. Like they really like football. But they don't follow every sport. Like a rich person can have like a little short conversation with you about like every single sport that's going on right now. It's like, how do you keep track? Because they read the newspaper. Rich people. There's two types of people who still read newspapers. Rich people and the elderly. They read newspapers. They read blogs. And they're generally well informed. But what I'm trying to say is they're not typically experts in one or two or three things. It's almost just like a general baseline knowledge of a lot of things. Here's another thing. They network. They talk to each other. They share information. That idea, of like they're like super miserly and greedy. I mean, if you want to call them greedy, I guess you could. They want a lot of things. But there's different levels of like, I know there's this huge thing where people were very angry at Jeff Bezos for risking his life to go to space. It was a strange thing to be angry about. They were angry or mocking him, and they're like, "Oh, he has so much wealth; it's disproportionate." Well, he did create something that basically got everyone through the lockdown and the pandemic. Can you imagine trying to get through the lockdown without Amazon? Back in the day where you had to like order something separately from like every company, and it would take up to months to get to you. Do you remember the days of like ordering an action figure? It's like, this will arrive in 30 to 90 days. Like, what the hell? Can I get it like in less than a week? Packaged up nicely with other things from other companies. Amazon got you through the lockdown. So I don't know what a proportional financial reward is, but so let's talk about giving back. The rich people I know are very, very, very much into charity, not just for the tax reasons, but they genuinely like it. I always used to read about, rich people paying massive amounts of taxes. It's like, that sucks. Well, first of all, you get to deduct a lot, but you still pay a lot of taxes. They always like, so-and-so is not paying any taxes. He didn't pay any, probably one type of tax. Another type of tax, he paid a lot. I pay more in tax now than what I made in tech. So, and that's with all the deductions, and you get to deduct a lot of stuff. But while every rich person I know takes every deduction possible, because why wouldn't you? And also, you basically have to. If you don't take every deduction out there, you're basically giving away your profit, and you can't operate. They are genuinely interested in the charities. A lot of them start them. A lot of them research them. They go to the other places. They check them out. They switch. They go, I don't like how that one was operated. They want to see real effects. But it's not begrudging. Like, I'm trying to say, they don't treat it like jury duty. I've never met a rich person who doesn't seem to legitimately like talking about charity, know it very well, and have a vested emotional interest in it. And there is that aspect, being Coinstar poor for decades. And then when I made some money, surprisingly, I was not like, ooh, I don't like paying taxes. I even talked to a friend. I was like, is it weird that I'm kind of proud how much tax I pay? And he's like, no, I get that. I drive down the street and I look at light poles. It's like paid for that one, paid for that one, paid for that one. Like, I feel like I'm contributing and helping society, whereas back in the day I was not contributing or even being, a drain. So there's this kind of pride in contributing more to other people. Main thing I take away from rich people is like I said, there's this weird thing where they detect you have any money and they just kind of befriend you because it's kind of lonely at the top, financially. I have a bachelor's degree, but I never tried to be an officer. People said, why didn't you want to become an officer? It's like, because the main, attraction to the military, besides, cool military stuff is, the friends, the homies, and there's this thing called fraternization where you're only allowed to basically be friends with people of the same rank as you. There's a lot fewer officers than enlisted. Even as a lieutenant, there's basically like 3 guys you can be friends with. One of them you're in competition to be the XO. One's going to be really boring or an asshole. So every lieutenant in the military has one friend. And they're not even like great friendships because they don't have a lot in common. They basically just don't hate each other. And it's like, yeah, I'm totally not going to get the XO position. So he's like, you're barely in the running. We can be friends. But you never see, the funny thing is, at like the reunions, the officers don't talk to the other officers. They talk to the enlisted because that's who they spend their most time with. Especially when you're, retired, then you can actually be friends with them. So there's a thing with rich people where they just don't have a lot of people to talk to. So they're very excited. Oh, I got someone new to talk to. And, they definitely do like taking people under their wing and teaching them. But I've noticed they're not like they're not the I told you so types. If you ignore something they say, you sell off a stock that they told you to hold, they never be like, condescending. They're just like, they just move on to the next thing. That would go back to, not depressive or morose. They don't get hung up on failures. They're also not that cope about it, win or learn. They're just like, that didn't work. And they do learn, but they're not very emotional about it. They just kind of take the lesson they can get from a failure or setback and they move on. There's this very I don't know if I would call it relentless drive, but they're always moving forward. They're always moving towards something. Whereas people who are not seeking wealth, and you don't have to if you're comfortable by all means, people who aren't wealthy but they're solid, it feels like their life is like, I want to get married and now I'm married and that's good. And then there's no more forward motion. They're like, I want to have a house and now I got a house and now I'm good. It feels like this, it's kind of like accelerating and slowing down. Whereas rich people, they're always accelerating in some way, shape, or form. They'll all of a sudden, rich people are weird. I want to learn piano. It's like, you're 53. I've got some time. I just sold off my company. I've got for the rest of the year, I'm going to vacation and then just kind of take some meetings, venture capital meetings. So I'm going to learn how to play piano. The weird thing is that always that random, weird, dumb thing they're doing, it always leads to something because they're going to meet someone at the piano lessons that's going to be the next partner or introduce them to the next partner in the next firm or company they create. It's crazy. They are always freaking moving forward. They will go walk their dog and meet an investor, find out about a new stock. It's almost like they're magnetic, and ideas and concepts just kind of glom onto them as they literally walk the dog. So that's about it. It went longer than I want to. I would like these videos to be around 10 minutes, and if they're going to be longer, I'll probably break them into 2 different subjects. But yeah, just to reiterate, the rich people I know are not like on TV and movies. They're not evil, greedy, miserly. They tend to be very positive people, and I think that's basically a requirement. If you're very depressive and morose by nature, I think it's going to be a difficult road for you to accumulate wealth or even become rich. And again, those are 2 different things. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.